Right on. Welcome everybody to this week's KubeVirt community meeting. My last of the year. This is the 10th of December 2025. I hope you're all having a marvelous day wherever and whenever you are in the world. Is there anybody new this week who would like to take a moment to introduce themselves? I'll take that as a no. Correct. I've got January on my mind, baby. No, we'll get to it in a second, but the VAP discussion is not after the VAP freeze. It is before. It's next week. Spoiler alert. But we'll get to that in just a second. If there's anyone here who has joined since I last said it about 5 minutes ago, if you could please put your name down in the attendees, that would be super duper awesome. Well, let's have a little look at the schedule. Oh no, I haven't updated the template. Well, this is just old news. Alrighty, so there's a lot going on here, but the key dates to pay attention to are the 7th of January, we have our VEP freeze. We'll be talking more about that in just a minute. And then the 25th of February is our code freeze. Was that 6 weeks later? And then another 6 weeks or something like that. We've got our GA date on the 18th of March. I think it's 4 weeks. Yeah, that's our 1.8 schedule. CFP check-in, we're going to skip that this week because the only thing that I'm aware of to put in is on the agenda. Calendar check-in. So after this meeting, we have SIG Compute. Tomorrow we've got the Code Quality Working Group and SIG Scale Performance. Ryan will let us know if it's going to get cancelled. And then next week we've got CI Weekly, Network and Storage, the VEP discussion, which we'll get to, and the COCO group, and the CI quarantine on Wednesday. And then obviously the community meeting, which Aurel will be moderating. Thank you very much, Aurel, for stepping up and taking on the next few weeks, or whenever it is. I think it's Lubo and Aurel who are looking after you in my absence. Any questions about the schedule or the calendar or anything that's happening at the movement? Cool. All right. So because the next VEP discussion we had one last week, no, this week, we had one yesterday. The next one was going to be on the 23rd, but that's problematic for a number of key people to that meeting. So it has been moved to next week. And if I click this link, hopefully I did in fact move it to December and not January. I did. Good stuff. So same time, same day, Tuesday. It's just going to be at a week early. All righty. And oh shit, it looks like someone's breaking into your house. How's it going?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's fine. Just an unusual camera angle. So you haven't seen any notifications about this. I'm still finalizing the form, and it is quite a compressed schedule. My apologies for that. That is just how it's going to turn out based on the surrounding deadlines that we have no great influence over. So we will have some slots for the KubeVirt Summit live at KubeCon. This is the in-person KubeVirt Summit event that will happening during KubeCon. Dates to be confirmed, but it will be on the 24th, 25th, or 26th. The KubeCon EU dates. It will be at KubeCon. The CFP will open today. I promise you that. And I will send out notifications when it does open on the mailing list and our socials. We're when that's done. But yeah, please know that it's only going to be open for a few weeks. We have to close it, unfortunately, the first week, I need to check, of January. It'll be on the form. And so just to recap for anyone who's unfamiliar with people are using the hands up.
Oh,
Yes.
I have a question about the VEP thing, the first and the last thing on the agenda, so we can talk about that
Oh,
next.
okay, okay. Cool. Um, yeah, so this is an in-person event that we're running. We have about 2.5 hours. So there are a couple of sessions that we're going to fill quite specifically with content that we know we want to have there. And the remaining couple of sessions we want to put out to the core group, you all, people that attend this meeting, quite especially, because we also want to include the usual KubeVirt Summit, what's hot, what's coming up next, what are people proud of, presenting their work kind of a thing. And so that's going to be the primary focus of this CFP. It's not going to be limited to that. And so if there are people who are working in the broader ecosystem that do have an interesting use case for with KubeVirt and they submit it, they will of course be considered. But we're mostly looking for core group to submit. Yeah, cool. What's happening in the KubeVirt world that no one else really knows about?
Hey,
Yeah,
I had
so
a
that
quick
will come out.
question.
Hit it.
Um, is is this going to be one of the co-located or auxiliary events that happen like before or after KubeCon, or is it going to be around the same time as KubeCon?
It's a new thing. This is the first time it's going to be run where some of the pilot group, I think there's 5 pilot groups. It's not a co-located event, but it is co-located at KubeCon. So it's actually running during KubeCon on the premises, somewhere in or near the project pavilion, or the solutions showcase, I think is the broader name for it. Yes, so it will be
That's
running
awesome.
during KubeCon. It'll be contending against people's talks. There's 2 sessions per day, morning and afternoon, except on the last day, which will only have morning because everyone leaves in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome. Exciting.
and
LA,
yeah,
if you
and
remember, sorry, Andrew, I'll say LA, if you remember at the Atlanta, and for everyone else too, like that was there, the Project Pavilion, they had those theaters set up. They're
Mhm.
like those mini theaters. They were kind of walled off a little bit, and they had chairs, and then they had a screen. That's I think what it's going to look like, or at least that's what I would imagine it's going to look like.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I think this is really exciting because this will I think help KubeVirt Summit get more attendance than what we usually have. So I'm super excited about this.
it should be pretty cool. We've never really run an in-person event like this before, so it'll be a slightly new headache for me. But yeah, I'm quite excited about this. Um, One other thing I think is worth mentioning as well regarding this is that we do have a limited number of KubeCon attendance tickets that are part of us being an event at this theater, and so they will go to the speakers. I'm largely confident that we'll have a ticket for every speaker. It just depends on if we get a whole bunch of interesting lightning talks. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be mostly standard sessions, in which case we will have enough speaker tickets. But that's something we can figure out down the track. And so, yeah, this event could be an interesting way as well if you submit to our CFP to get to attend KubeCon. Any more questions on that? Okay. Alay, you've got the next topic.
Um, I wanted to take some time in this meeting to triage issue number 10. So if you can open that issue, Andrew. Um, okay, so just for context to the wider group, we've been running DRA support for DRA devices sync up that is separate from this call. And in that call, we have discussed in detail, some of the things. And if you can scroll up, Andrew, I think there is a list that I put under beta. Yes, this one. What I would like to do today is go through this list and kind of get alignment on which are the things that are required for beta. Um, and if anyone has other things that I have not captured here, it would be good to call that out as well. So going down that list, the very first thing is documentation for DRA drivers. I think we've added support for VFIO NVIDIA DRA driver in pass-through mode. And that one is basically capturing the need for documenting how to start running that feature. So I will most likely assign that to me or Varun, but we'll have that. Other drivers that add support in future will also need that. The second big thing is downward API for attributes, so that attributes like PCI bus ID or MDEV UUID can be discovered in the Virt launcher without needing them in the VMI status. This issue is being worked on in Kubernetes, and I think having some kind of a framework on what it would look like to consume this issue once it is supported in Kubernetes, I think that is going to be a requirement for beta. It could be possible that we would not have exact implementation of this issue in time, but we just need to make sure that the reviewers and everyone in the community is aware of how eventually we will consume this feature. The third one, network DRA driver support for that. I think there is an issue filed already, and there's someone in the community who's working on this. So we'll make that integration for that at the API level a requirement, at least, if not full feature, at least the API parts of it should be captured. The next one is end-to-end tests. So there are two variations of this that we have discussed. One is to make the DRA example driver work with KubeVirt. And the other one is, I think Vladek mentioned this, that we already have a GPU in our CI infrastructure. So we could potentially run the VFIO feature and have it consume that GPU and add a CI test for it. So I'm not sure right now what is the scope of work required for either, like for the second one. It looks like the second one is bigger. So from the beta requirement, I have marked as if we can do at least one by the time we do beta, that will be enough to add end-to-end tests. And then the other one, we can push it to GA. The reason why first will be interesting is with first, we can do all kind of scale testing. I think that will become a requirement for GA as well. So I think both of them will have value, whether we do first or second, and will be required in GA anyway. So we might as well do it now. And the last one I have is the CPU DRA driver. We have been spending a lot of time discussing this in the sync up call, in the DRA meeting, but I think we should push this particular piece to a later version and not consider it in the next release. My reasoning for this is, first, we have done enough explorations to see how integration will look like. So we are at a point where, folks have a rough mental model of what it would look like. And second, the CPU DRA driver in upstream Kubernetes itself is not something which is stable and recommended for production. It is still being worked on. There are a couple of enhancements that are being driven in Kubernetes from this effort. So until it doesn't reach some kind of stability level, I think we should wait and watch and avoid introducing API changes for this one. And we also have a lot of things to do for beta this release. So to me, it makes sense to push this later, but I'm curious to hear thoughts. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, my only concern is that we will not get it right. I agree with you 100% that this is not related to Web 10. This is probably something separate. But I think this effort needs to start, because my concern is that it's not just one thing. It's how we envision complex allocations in the future, and without the CPU driver, getting a correct allocation of some complex server would be impossible. So I mean, but yeah, definitely not in this release, or at least if we don't have cycles for this release. But I think this work needs to start separately.
So yeah, that makes sense. The only concern I have is that currently the Kubernetes community has identified a list of issues where CPU DRA driver does not work. So for example, if you want to use the CPU DRA driver, you need to put kubelet on that mode. You need to configure the kubelet to not have static CPU policy or a specific CPU manager configuration, right? And I don't think that is recommended in production, at least as of now.
I don't think that we're speaking about production. I think we're speaking about getting KubeVirt into a phase where we can actually understand, how this future should look for us. Like, how
Yes.
should it look for us? Yeah, so I think this is about that and not getting it right. But I think that this is a risk if we will not start this work early.
Got it. It makes sense. But I think what I want, and I think this is where we are aligned on, as in it should not block the beta of the existing APIs, right? We can track this as a separate work, and I think we have made progress on exploring the integrations, and we can continue doing that in parallel with the beta effort, and that will be valuable on both fronts. So okay, so I'll take this action item to file issues for this if it doesn't exist, and then create a separate enhancement issue for the DRA integration. Sorry, CPU DRA integration. And yeah, big call out. If folks have other issues that are not captured here, please reach out to me or let me know. Lubo, I think you have your hand raised. Oh, before Lubo, I think there was somebody else trying to speak.
I have a question. Is this just for CPU DRAs, or is this also for? I think we discussed this, but it didn't sink in somehow. Is number 10 just for CPU DRAs, or is it also for things like GPUs and other accelerators?
No, I think we just um, I think for CPU DRA driver, we'll have a separate issue. We can
Okay.
have 10 for host devices and GPU devices. And the host devices part of the API should provide a way to consume network as well, right? So we'll have network and GPUs here in 10, and for CPU, we'll create a new issue.
Okay, thank you. That makes perfect sense.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Lugo.
Yeah, I think I agree with Vladik. I will just add that alpha was done in 1.6, but I don't see any PR there being linked. So please make sure that it's properly displayed there.
Oh, yes, sure. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you, Andrew, for the time.
Awesome. Thank you. Bum, bum, bum. All right, Cheryl, your question about VEPs.
Yes, I have a couple questions. One of them is we got this link this morning, or this questionnaire attached to the 1.8 list, with what looked to be like a little bit of pressure to volunteer to review them at least. And I don't know how that meshes with what we're doing, but I suppose. But I was not aware of these. Like, it's like a list of enhancements and um for 1.8 in particular. And we were urged to volunteer for some. It looked like one might not be enough. I volunteered for 10 just because it's a topic that interests me, and 76 because it can impact me. But ultimately, I'd like to get 146 on the list, and it probably has to do with the versions of KubeVirt and that are entered in that are the target versions. But I'm not sure how to enter those in such a way that they'll get picked up automatically by whatever process picked up these other VEPs for the list. I'm just a confused person right now. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for volunteering. That's really wonderful that you did. And no, really, thank you, because I do I did not write the messaging or the questionnaire, but I do feel the strain from some of the maintainers, where if impressions, whatever, some people are taking the lion's share of the review process, and it feels like it could be more equitably distributed. And like what you did is perfect. Pick things that impact you or interest you and just get involved. That's what we really need at this point. So thank you for that.
Okay, and I'll get my I'll figure out what the versioning is like inside the VEP that allows it to get picked up by lists like this. It's just mm, I call it my VEP, but it's not really my VEP. It's our VEP, just to get S390X CI/CD running for CDI, and I'm not sure if it requires a whole VEP, but it's in there. And
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My understanding with this was that if you create the VEP, then you create the sibling tracker issue. The tracking issue should get picked up on this list.
Okay.
And if there's anything that the enhancements repo, like a README, is not currently documenting, and you find it wanting, can you please raise an issue on that so that we can update the documentation so that it becomes more clear?
Okay, thank you. I thought the VEP was the tracking issue, so that was. I'll fix the documentation for sure. Thank you.
And yeah, anyone that knows better, please jump in and correct me. But I'm pretty sure this is tracking this is all the trackers that are the siblings to the VEPs themselves.
Yeah, basically this points to the issues, and currently we update this manually. So if we did forget one VEP, you're welcome to ping us. But yeah, this is basically just a helper to see all of the opened issues in a central way.
Okay, thanks a lot for clarifying all that. I'm done. No more.
Just to clarify, you do start with the issue first, and then you go with the PRs.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got it right. Like the issue is the VEP, right? This is just a helper to see the opened issues.
Cool. Okay. We don't want to run over. So, hey, and everybody have a nice holiday season if I don't see you before then.
Likewise.
So, thank you.
We have approximately 20 seconds before we need to jump over to Seed Compute, and I don't want to step on their shoes. They got a lot to do. So I'll just point to the mailing list review. We won't necessarily look at these, but there's a couple of things. Speaking of EPs, people trying to get some highlight on that. So that's 122, 134, and 135. These link to those mailing list threads for discussion. Yeah, so please, I believe this is Harshit's. Is that correct? Hypervisor feature? Maybe it's not.
Yeah, it is discovery.
It is.
This one's still open. I think 134 and 135 were already discussed in various different meetings.
Very good, including potentially Seed Compute, which is happening right now. So don't forget, the next VEP discussion, the last one of the year, is going to be on the 16th. Always check the calendar. And then the very last one beforehand, it's probably going to be too late, is the 6th of January, one day before the VEP freeze. And so that's really for the desperados out there. Thank you all very much. I'll probably won't see you again because yeah, I'm going to be a very different time zone. So thank you all very much, everyone, for making this year what it has been. I hope you all have a wonderful break if you're having a break, and I will see you in 6 weeks' time-ish. So thanks again. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
There's a-
Thanks. Bye.